ringing a bell.
Doug who?
Do we know this guy? I don't have a clue who he is. Doug who?
I've had the privilege of sitting down and having lunch with him on several occasions, and he loves embellishing himself. He's quite the ladies' man. And there was one day during lunch that I asked him to do something for me, and he said, "What was that?" And I said, "Well, Doug used to wear hairpiece, and it looked like a wave, that should belong out there in the ocean, not on his head." And I said, "Doug, I cannot finish lunch without asking you to remove your hairpiece. I just can't." He got mad and made me pay for lunch. Of course, I was used to paying for lunch because Doug has a hard time pulling his wallet out.
I've known Doug for a lot of years, and over the years, I never realized until we had a luncheon on the 27th of October. And I realized that, I told him I was going to say this, I realized that Doug's a troublemaker. He gets all the trouble stirred up, and then he walks away, and he goes, "Gee, why is everybody upset?"
That's right. I thought that was good.
Cute story I'm going to tell you, because they always kid Doug about not knowing the product, and his favorite expression, if no one else has said it, "Ain't she pretty?" And he absolutely means that, and he plays on how nice it is. He may have no idea what kind of engine it is. It might just be a big one, but he's always looking at that lady, and he's always making the statements to her because he knows she's going to be the one that makes that decision. Funny story, I have to tell you this, talking about his knowledge. We'd just taken on Discovery, and a lady came in and a gentleman came in that were looking for a diesel, and I said, "Doug, go show him that Discovery." So he was gone about 20 minutes, and he came back in. He goes, "Fred," he said, "that thing just rides terrible." He said, "They love the coach, but it just rides terrible." So I got out from behind my desk, and I walked outside, and there's a little lever there I push, and that puts all the air in the airbags. So he had dumped all the air out of it, and he was riding around with no air in the bag. So I flipped the little lever, came back up, he came back in, and he made the sale that day.
A few years ago, we were in the modulars before they built this nice big building, and Doug had this van, kind of unique. It had a motorhome air conditioner on top, and he'd been driving that for a few years, and he decided to sell it. So it was a rainy, drizzly day, kind of cold and wet. And he come to the operator. We happened to be sitting in the lounge listening to him, and said, "If I get any calls, I got to add in the paper for my van, make sure I get them," because Doug didn't have a cell phone then. He was one of the last to get a cell phone. So me and another salesperson, Pat Bratner, heard it. So we just, our eyebrows kind of raised, says, "Oh, we're going to have some fun today." So we went in the back office and made a call to Doug through our phone, and he answered it, and we asked him all about the van. And we told him we'd be there about 2 o'clock to look at it. We had cash. So Doug's all rubbing his hands and going, "I'm going to sell that." But he had to make it, he was kind of confused because he had put 2 ads in 2 separate papers at 2 different prices. So he didn't know if the guy was coming in on the $8,000 ad or the $10,000 ad. So he's out there waiting at 2 o'clock in the rain, not knowing it was us calling, right? And it's raining and raining. He's getting soaked. We walk by. "What are you doing out in the rain, Doug?" "Oh, I'm going to sell that van today, but I don't know what ad they're coming in on." So we've had one of the guys from the trailer division over at Palo Verde call him up and says, "Hey, there's some guy wanting to look at your van over here." So he jumped in his golf cart in the rain and drove over to the Palo Verde store, and he's looking for the guy, and he goes in, the guy said he called him, Ray, and he said, "Oh, he just left and took his kids over to McDonald's, and he said he'd meet you back at the other store." So here comes Doug racing back, standing out in the rain waiting for this guy. And then we called again and says, "Hey, we had a little emergency. We had to go somewhere. Well, but we'll be back around 6:30 to look at that. Will you be there?" Of course, we closed at 6 o'clock. We're walking by, and there's Doug standing in the rain waiting for this guy to show up. And he stayed out there about 7 and finally left, I guess. And he keeps calling and says, "I want to know who that guy is," and he never showed up. Well, we didn't tell him until about a year later that it was us calling him, and he just says, "That was you,"
Good. We've been friends, and I've known you for 29 years. Interesting story. I've been trying to get even with you, Doug, since that time. 1975, when you sent me to Safford, Arizona, with a half-ton pickup, a small V8 engine, to pick up a 35-foot travel trailer that had one one flat tire, and I had to pull that back in 30-mile-an-hour winds at about 20 miles an hour. And for that, you said, here you go, kid, $50. Now, as you know, Doug, we've been friends for all these years, but also, as you know, I have been trying to get even with your old crusty butt for 29 years. I don't think I'll ever get even, but at least I'm trying every single day. I love you, man.
You know, being Hispanic, we have a lot of passion in everything we do. And music is part of us. You know, the rhythm, the music, the movement, and pretty difficult to find it in a lot of the sales people here, more so the men. So we have this fiestas going on, and we have to do this dance around a big sombrero on the ground. And there was going to be a prize. So needless to say, I was going to win. I had a sure win on this one. And Mr. Bowler, Doug, was one of the people that was supposed to dance. I said, there's no way. Well, the music starts, and I see this, I don't know what it was. It was like a contraction, like a seizure, like I don't know, between breakdancing and cumbia and soul, all kinds of rhythm. I thought he was really having a heart attack because I know he had a heart attack before. But no, it was Doug dancing. And I thought, wow, I really had to kind of like just look. Because I sure was like, wow, I don't want to learn that from him. But it was quite a sight. So I learned, I learned Ain't She Pretty from him. And I learned new moves as far as dancing is concerned.
He came over and he got up close to me and he said, come here for a minute, I want to give you some advice. And so I walked over and he said, you see that guy over there? And he was pointing over at Mom. He said, he is ornery and mean and nasty. And he says, I just want to tell you that you're a really nice guy, but you're starting to act like him. You need to change your ways now.
If he had any drawbacks, is that he does love to gamble. He does have a flair for the cards. And he sees himself as quite the card man, but unfortunately he does lose a lot. But and he understands that, so he doesn't mind. So he continues to lose money, and maybe that's why he's here at Beaudry RV, having to continue to work, because he loves to play cards.
Doug was always being hissed at when he got up in meetings, and I didn't understand what that was. Well, years ago they called him the snake, and I didn't think that was really appropriate for Doug, because he was more of the kind of person who'd really could close any kind of deal. He has some of the best closes I've ever seen in anybody. So I had come across a little a hammer that was a magnet, and I stuck it up by his name one day. So I actually renamed Doug the Hammer, and to this day it sticks with him. And when he makes a sale now, they draw a big hammer by his name. So it's a name that stuck with him. He's an incredibly workaholic when he's working a deal. And not only does he work the customer, he works the desk. And it got to the point, and I dug this out of the archives because I had to put it in front of me every time Doug came in front of me, and it says, work the customer, not me. And he would want more and more for his trade. And everybody's worked with Doug knows he's that way, but he's an absolutely fabulous man. I've had a lot of fun with him over the years. I hate to see him retire. Hopefully he doesn't totally retire, because I'll really miss him a lot. And Doug, thank you for being my friend for 10 years. I've really enjoyed working with you. Appreciate it.
Doug sees himself as quite the salesperson. And there isn't anybody that can close a deal like Doug Bowler. And when he puts a deal down, when he sells a customer a coach, he puts